I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse, and you're watching the Patreon bonus stories.
And I wish I could see you more today, but I can't.
That's fine. I can see you in the monitor, and you can see me in the monitor, so we're all set.
All right.
So yeah, I guess we have to talk about the Wall Street Bets thing. It's been covered to death, but it hasn't been covered to death properly in a lot of mainstream media. Like a lot of people or a lot of news organizations have really gone after these Redditors.
Well, first, before we get to that, though, I want to talk about Tesla's earnings because, earnings day was last week, and we covered it. And what was funny is the next day, I think a lot of us thought, well, the stock's going to shoot up because that was great. Another sixth quarter of positive earnings. But it didn't shoot up. So Wall Street, a.k.a. a bunch of analysts, most of whom said not to buy Tesla. Remember that? For years, they were like, don't buy Tesla. So these guys are somehow experts. They have expectations on Tesla's Q4 2020 earnings. So every quarter, pretty much their whole job is to come up with what they expect the company will earn. And so they put that out there, and then usually people average them up, and they're like, okay, so Tesla's going to earn $10.5 billion in earnings because I added up all the experts and I averaged them.
Right. And it should be $1.04 per share.
Right. So what happened? Well, Tesla actually beat expectations, came out with $10.7 billion in quarterly earnings, but their non-GAAP per share earnings was 0.8 or 80 cents a share. And that's mainly because they spent a lot of money to pay down some debt and stuff. And so what happened? Tesla stock dropped.
Yeah. And of course, never mind the $1.9 billion in free cash flow. Never mind the $19 billion in the bank. And never mind that Elon says that they're probably going to grow at 50% plus year over year for the next couple of years at least.
And this is where it does fit into your story about, GameStop and the shorting and all that stuff is Wall Street has a way they want to do things. And the way they want to do things is they want to disseminate information to us, the morons of the world, through their legions of analysts. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they can kind of control those analysts. They can control the narrative. Why can they control the narrative? Because those analysts need the big guys in Wall Street to basically have their jobs, right? So you call up an analyst and you say, I'll be glad to talk to you about our earnings next quarter. Now, if that analyst starts going, off the rails and not saying what you want him to say, you just close down on him. You don't give him any more information. So he quickly learns, just like the press learns, oh, you know what? If I keep doing independently minded stories, I'm not going to have access to all that information, to all the CEOs and all that stuff. So what do? I play ball.
Right.
And so for the most part, a lot of these analysts, why do you think they all ask stupid questions on the earnings calls with Elon? Because they are basically not free thinkers. They're not people who are allowed to just independently think. They're basically towing a line. And so what do we all do? Oh, well, did the company do better or worse than expectations? Whose expectations?
Right.
Why is this word expectation so burrowed into our brains now? We all hear it on financial shows every day. Oh, didn't meet expectations, Bob.
Right. And, the analyst's expectations versus just looking at the company and seeing how well they did, paying down debt is good. Like, that means that they're going to have less stuff that they have to spend on just interest in the future. So it was a smart move, in my opinion, but I'm not an analyst, so don't listen to a word that I have to say.
And this kind of leads me to something I'd like to talk about. I know not all of you are part of our investor club. I know some of you have no interest at all, and that's fine. But I thought I'd take this opportunity to talk to everybody about it because I think there's something that we're doing on the investor club that's actually bigger and better than I thought it would be. And that is our investor club Slack. And Jesse and I were looking at the numbers the other day, and we realized that even among the 1,400 plus people who have joined us on the investor club, a lot of them aren't really fully understanding the Slack. And so I thought we'd just take this opportunity to tell you about it. Even if you're not part of it, this might pique your interest. Slack, first of all, I'm kind of sorry because I think we assumed a lot of people would just kind of know what it was. And
right, I'd been using it for years.
Yeah, and I've been using it exactly for years too. And it's basically a messaging kind of platform or app that you can use to talk to people on your team in a company, right? So if I, working on a project, I could have Jesse on my Slack, I could have him in a certain channel, I could have other people in different channels. And to my brain now, I've gotten used to it, it makes sense. But I realize that for a lot of you, we got a lot of emails of like, Slack, what are you talking about?
Right.
So there is going to be a learning curve there. But so I wanted to talk to you about today was why this is so valuable.
And it's all down to channels.
Yes.
Slack has a system where there are a number of different channels that you can join. So just like a TV channel, you're like, oh, the History Channel, I want to learn about history, so I'll go to the History Channel. Or, oh, the Science Channel, I'm going to learn about science. Or the Military Channel, whatever. You know, a similar idea, except that it's basically a little chat room about those particular topics. And you have to join the channels in order to be talking in them. It doesn't cost anything. It's not hard. All you have to do is go to the channel browser, and it'll show you all the different channels. And you can just join as many as you want, as few as you want. You can leave channels. You can come back. There's no like obligation or anything like that.
You know, I think would help is if you showed right now. So boys, can we put up our Now You Know Investor Club Slack here and just show the channels? So you're probably seeing, you know, Aptera has a channel,
right?
And Tesla has a channel, and FUV has a channel.
And the cool part about this is that if you're interested in that particular topic, you join that channel, and then basically everyone on there is talking about that specific thing. And that keeps the discussion really streamlined. And there's one other thing that I just want to talk about, and that is threads. So
you lost me.
In the channel, if I write a message and I'm like, what do you think FUV is going to do tomorrow? You might want to talk to me about that, and you can use threads. So if you hover over that message, you'll see a little like chat bubble. You click on that, and that puts it in a thread. So that way everyone's talking about what the main message was about. And that keeps everything really streamlined. And the cool part is that all the Slack junkies who are already on our Slack are already doing this. So it's going to be a lot easier for you to kind of get involved, because a lot of you already know what you're doing, and that's super great. And I really encourage you to use those features in order to have really detailed discussions. And
now I hear you now. A lot of people have said to me, like, I'm overwhelmed when I go there, Zach. Like, I don't even know what's going on. And I don't know what are all these channels you're talking about. So I would just say, take it slow. Go on there, look through our whole list of channels, and only add one or two that you're interested in. Let's say Tesla or FUV. Mm-hmm. And then for the first week or two or three, just look at it maybe for a couple minutes a day and just read. You don't feel like you're forced to post anything, and then just kind of get used to like, oh, I kind of see how it's working every day, and maybe I really enjoy this channel a lot. At some point, you might have a question or you might have a comment. Feel free to try it out and post it in there. Everyone is really friendly. That's what's been so nice. It's been up for weeks and weeks and weeks, and there's been no fighting. There's been no normal internet trolling. It's all friendly. You can ask questions which you might think are dumb, and people will answer them. And the reason for that is this. I want to pat you guys on the back for this, because it's not just us. It's because there's 1,400 plus smart people that are moderated. So basically you can get kicked off, whereas most of the internet, you can't get kicked off. And you're only let through the door, right? Because you, like our show, and you paid some money to be a part of this club. And so that really whittles it down to really smart, intelligent, nice people. So where else in the internet could you find something as perfect as this? I mean, I don't want to just pat myself on the back for this. This is you. This is kind of incredible, because we kind of expect the internet to only be as good as the worst link, right? If you go onto Facebook, for instance, and you start posting something, eventually there's going to be some, trolly kind of moron person who's just going to make it all unpleasant. That hasn't happened here.
Right.
And I'm super excited about that, because we've created a community of people who really care about all these different things, and they already know a lot. Like, it's not like you're going to have to explain electric cars every third post. Everyone gets all this.
Right.
So we're getting really intelligent conversations, and I just want to go to what I've learned. I kind of thought, well, I'll have to be on there teaching you guys everything. You guys are actually teaching me a lot. I went on there the other day and found out about Cathie Wood's new ARC-X space fund that's coming out. I hadn't heard about that.
Right.
You guys found out about it way before anyone else did.
Right. And I mean, we heard about Eli way before anyone else. We heard about Aptera way before anyone else. And we had connections that got us interviews with them before anyone else on the interview. We literally talked to both Aptera and Eli, and both of the CEOs, or I guess there's 3 CEOs technically. They all said, this is our first like public interview that we're doing ever.
Yeah, we just did that with the Monarch Tractor. That was like their first interview ever. Like, this is actually really incredible, and we're able to get you that information pretty much before anyone else has it.
So I just want to encourage everyone to join channels. I've just been looking, and most channels only have about like 200-ish people. I think that we can get that number up. You don't have to join every channel. I'm just saying, I know that most of those 200 people are the same on every single channel. So I just want to make sure that if you're on there and you're like, what is everyone talking about? I don't know what is going on. You just need to join channels that you're interested in.
And just keep checking for new channels. And also, if you'd like a channel, go to the Make This a Channel and say, hey, I'd like to talk about this. Could you make it a channel? And our moderators will probably do it. So yeah, it's really cool spot. I would say really just plan for a couple minutes a day to keep on it, because you'll just find new information all the time. It might even get addictive.
Yeah. And obviously there's no obligation. You don't have to keep up, even though Slack makes it so that way you like somehow have to keep up. Feel free to just skip to the bottom, see what's happening now, you know?
All right, let's get to Proterra. Proterra is a bus company. I'm invested in it. And they are testing now in Albuquerque. Now, Albuquerque has a bad taste in their mouth because they got 18 buses from BYD back in 2016, and they did not like them.
Just a couple of years ago, you might remember this, after electric buses flopped on the ART route, Albuquerque city officials are now giving electric buses another chance. Question is, what's so different now? Here's Roy Wang.
It's virtually emissions-free.
This new Proterra Catalyst E2 electric bus will start rolling through Albuquerque Saturday. It will run the 66 Central route at first, but officials want to test it out in different parts of the city to see what its battery life is like.
As we want to check and see how it does on terrain, how it does with the full load, how it does with different temperatures going up and downhill.
They're anticipating the bus will run about 150 to 175 miles a day on one charge. You might remember the city tried out electric buses before for the ART route back in 2018. Those buses got sent back to the company that made them. Mayor Tim Keller cited failing performance standards and safety concerns at the time. But the city says these new Proterra buses are different.
They were the beta testing a brand new design. In this case, this is a Proterra. This is a different manufacturer. These are all over the country. Those were 60-foot buses designed to run an ART route. And they were still testing what the battery length was going to be on one charge. In this one, we know it's more or less 150 to 175 miles.
The city plans on buying 5 more Proterra buses by the end of the year.
We've looked at several buses this go around, and we feel this is the best bus that we could get for our money, and we're excited about this one.
Money to buy the buses is coming from Federal Transit Administration grants. Joy Wang, KOB4.
Yeah, so the vehicles before, the BYD buses, they did not meet their promised battery charge, which meant they couldn't manage a full day's service. There were all sorts of issues, including door openings unexpectedly and brake malfunctions. So now I think going forward, they're being a lot more cautious in Albuquerque. They basically got one Proterra bus. They're testing it on a bunch of different routes. I think they know what to look for now, because I think before the range, it just wouldn't make it throughout the day. Now they need to make sure it goes like 150 miles a day. And oh, by the way, do you know that Albuquerque sued BYD because basically they feel like they were missold some, buses that they said they could do something they couldn't.
Right.
So now if this bus works on their test, they're going to buy 6 more Proterra buses. And again, this is why I am pretty long on Proterra, because I feel like you got an American bus company delivering right here in America, as opposed to a Chinese bus company, which nothing against BYD, but I mean, just the shipping charges and the servicing is going to be a whole bigger issue for them.
Yeah. And, small projects like this in Albuquerque can lead to much bigger buys in other other cities, because essentially you can say, oh, Albuquerque did this here in, Topeka, Kansas, we're going to buy 10 buses, and we're not worried because Albuquerque kind of did all the legwork for us.
This is a little bit disturbing, this video that we're going to show you next. So if you don't like disturbing things, maybe move on to the next story. But we're going to play it right now. Okay, so that was a
Drive-by shooting.
Drive-by
that happened
shooting.
on the highway, and it was caught on camera.
yeah. So what city was this? Nashville.
This was in Nashville, Tennessee. It was by a 2007 GMC Envoy. Well, it was the guy inside the car with a North Carolina license plate.
Yeah, some Redditors figured out his license plate, HDX3601, and they figured out his VIN number from that. And the sad thing here, though, is that the Tesla driver took the footage, gave it to the Nashville police, and said that basically he doesn't feel like much is going to happen.
Right.
I feel like if you had someone attempt murder on the highway and you've basically got the footage of it, why? I mean, they know what the license plate is.
Right.
It would seem like you could have this guy in custody in 24 hours.
It was weird the way that that the news kind of discussed it. They kind of were like, well, the damage done to the car. And it's like, first of all, 2 of those bullet holes are like hip placement.
Yeah. And it's just luck. I mean, it could have been, I mean, the car was only, 10 feet away.
Right. As far as I can tell, the car stopped the bullets. At least, or maybe excluding one bullet, but the guy wasn't hurt. The driver was not injured, which is very amazing. And he was able to take the exit, which was also very
well. And when I first heard about this story, I heard about it as like a print story. I thought, well, maybe it was just a fight. 2 guys knew each other in the parking lot. It had nothing to do with the Tesla. But the more I'm watching this, it's like this came out of nowhere. This guy just comes up, out of nowhere. It doesn't look like the Tesla's speeding or getting away or anything. Just comes up and shoots him. And it's like, I don't know if it was because it was a Tesla. I don't know if it was just this guy is angry. I have no idea. But this is super scary. And it just seems like the police should be putting all their efforts into getting this one solved.
Right. It's attempted murder. It's not damage done to the car so much as it is the principle of it. But I'm assuming that this stuff happened every day and we just never got to see it because you didn't have side-facing cameras. I mean, obviously, I'm sure that there's, usually dash cam footage of the car, driving away or approaching from behind because usually dash cams are on the front or the back.
But let me just say, if you had a dash cam, a normal one, pointing out the front windshield,
Right.
and then you said to me, like, here's some footage of the guy driving away, I'd be like, yeah, I don't believe that.
Yeah, that's any car.
Right.
Right.
It's like, it makes it much more believable when you can see all the different angles of what happened. The guy drives up and shoots them. Like that's just obvious.
Now, one thing that I would like to point out would be, it would be great if if Tesla would record audio as part of the
Like
thing.
interior audio?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm a little on the fence because obviously if you put in a dash cam, usually it records audio as well. So you'll usually hear muffled, oh no, I crashed my car in that type of footage.
It would be nice if it was an option.
Because then you could be like, okay, bang, bang, bang. Those were or at least the ting, ting, whatever sound bullets make when they hit an aluminum.
Do you think that would make any difference though? Like for most
probably
incidents?
Not.
I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, I think it more protects the driver than anything. So that way, if the driver starts, screaming at someone, you're not gonna in court. It's just gonna be like, I was just driving, Your Honor.
Right.
It's not gonna be like, so why were you screaming profanities at this person as you were driving by?
I mean, it'd be easy for Tesla to do. There's microphones in the car, so they could make it an option.
Right.
I think it'd be a good option. You're right.
It would be a good option, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. VPs of Special Operations. We're always thinking of this stuff. All right. This next story, it's a positive one. It's a Swedish startup called Volta Trucks. They were founded in 2019, and last week they got $20 million more of investment to help gear up for production of their Volta Zero. It's an urban electric 16-ton truck. So it's not an 8-ton truck, and it's not a semi-truck. It's kind of that in-between. You see these around cities a lot. And this will be the first of its kind, mainly because they're going after a segment that not too many others have gone after. It'll have a range of 150 to 200 kilometers or 93 to 124 miles. And Volta says they have $260 million in orders already. You got to take that with a grain of salt. A lot of companies will say they have orders when actually they just have like, sure, maybe from companies. But
it shows that at least there's some interest. At least companies have heard of them and have said, sure, this is better than no one ever hearing about it.
So Jesse, I know you like van life kind of ideas, right?
Yeah.
And electric van life, right?
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah,
this
yeah.
is the ENV200. This is the Nissan ENV200 a lot of us have heard of, but this is their winter camper concept. So
Okay,
let's
let's
just
check it out.
check this out.
Okay.
We've established that it's cold out.
Okay. He's
Good.
drinking the
Let's
thing.
see more
They're
of the truck now,
outside.
okay?
Okay. Yep.
Oh, It's got a ski rack.
Great. Okay, so going skiing.
Going skiing.
For the day.
Good.
Nice.
Are you going to come back to the truck yet?
That's fun.
Okay.
No, driving around.
Okay,
That's
good.
Nice. It looks cool. The bull bar on the front.
Nice. It's
Yeah.
probably got a lot of range. That's awesome.
Right. I mean, it's freezing cold up the
Yeah.
mountains too, and you're going up and down mountains. You're going to need the range.
Okay, coming back to the truck now. We get to see.
Nice.
Oh,
The
here we
cool
go. Interior. It's got a
Okay.
interesting. Okay, we didn't see much of the interior there.
Right.
All right, so I did a little digging because I knew you'd have some questions.
Yep.
So you probably have some questions about range.
Yes, because I mean, in the winter, you're going to be cold. The battery's going to be cold. Yeah.
It's got 124 miles of range.
What? That's not going to get you up the mountain.
You know why it's not going to get you up the mountain? Because
What?
it's 124 miles of WLTP range.
Okay, so it's basically a Leaf battery,
Right. I mean, that
which
means
it is.
that means probably less than 100 miles of range. Not to mention if it's cold out, then it's going to get worse. And if you're going up in the mountains, it's going to get worse. So,
So why are they showing this to us?
it's a concept.
Oh, a concept. So they're not going to actually sell it because it's not a real thing. This is like selling a glass cannon. They have a solar panel on the roof,
Yes, they do.
and it says that it can recharge the onboard 220 volt power pack, but it's one solar panel, and it looks like it's maybe like 200 watt.
Tops.
That's nothing. That would get you half a mile an hour in the best case scenario with no losses.
Also, they didn't show them sleeping because I'm assuming it's very cramped. Like they showed them just sitting there.
I mean, that's van life. But then I also wonder what you have the big folding top for if it's
Right.
winter and
That's going to just let in cold air.
you're just increasing the surface area of the vehicle, which is
Right.
going to let out heat.
right.
It has an integrated kitchen, refrigerator, folding bed, and insulated glass to make life better. Why are they making this video? They're not going to make this truck because it wouldn't make any logical sense at all.
This again goes back to these OEMs. They don't seem to really get their customers at all. It almost seems like they just hand these off to little departments to see like what they could do, and then they go do it. But they're not going to make a lot of them.
Right.
They don't tell us the important things like price. They don't give us the range we need.
And yeah, there's no.
They don't give us the features we need. Like, okay, if you're going to put a solar panel on the roof, you went to all that trouble, cover the roof with
right.
solar.
And have little fold out things or have little slide out things, or just at least cover the roof in solar and say, park for a week and then you can drive another 100 miles.
Because I really like that, you've got now the solar at an angle. So if you knew what you were doing and you parked the truck at the right angle, you could get pretty direct sunlight. That would be awesome. And in the winter, solar panels are even more efficient.
I just want to think about this for a second, right? What is I want to talk about the VW microbus.
Mm-hmm.
People love the VW microbus, and
Yep.
they loved the microbus when it came out.
Yep.
It became a cultural icon. People love that thing. And now when VW is like, hey, we have this e-Buzz and it looks just like the thing, people are chomping at the bit to get it.
Why has it been decades since they made one?
I don't get it. I don't get
I mean, you've got this proven thing that even though it may be a small number of people, at least that group loves it, and yet you don't make them anymore.
Exactly. All you have to do is do it right. So give it enough range. 200 miles would be fine.
Yep.
Give it enough solar. I mean, I want to talk about our buddy Joel over on the YouTube channel
Route del Sol.
Road del Sol. He had to make a van to do this. A big fold-out solar system, fairly decent battery size, and it's a live-in van. It's doable, and it would be easier for an OEM to do because they'd be able to build it from the ground up. They wouldn't need to be ripping stuff out and making their own janky, systems or anything. They could actually spend the engineering resources and make one of these things. And then you don't have to mass produce, hundreds of thousands of them because not that many people are going to want that many, but you would be the brand to have it.
Yep.
And the whole cultural segment of those people would be like, wow, Nissan, that's my brand because I lived in a Nissan. How many people live in their cars? I know there are people who live in the cars, but I'm saying like intentionally.
They're soulless. I hate to say this, but the more I mean, we've been watching and talking about them and learning about them for years. These companies have no soul. They're not led by people that really have like a vision or a drive.
And
they're led
actually-
by number cruncher people
Right.
and bean counter people.
And in the weird thing, I think, is that there isn't enough consolidation of leadership in the companies, because clearly someone at Nissan was like, hey, what if we had a camper version of our ENV200? That's great.
Well,
That's awesome. But they weren't given the bandwidth or the leeway to say, let's make this a real thing.
Yeah,
they
I mean-
were said like, oh, okay, you can make a concept. Don't you want to just make a little concept? We'll make a video.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Sandy Munro, I think, says why. He met up with the Silicon Valley Tesla Owners Club recently, and a lot of people are asking him about other manufacturers, and he said, like, these other big auto manufacturers, they are screwed. He said it in more colorful language. And then when asked more in depth about it, he said, well, think about this. If you are a VP of something, what is more likely to move you up the ladder? Saying yes to something or saying no? If you say yes to something and it fails, what happens to your career?
It's over because you're at risk.
If you say no to something, no one ever knows whether it would have been successful. So what's the best strategy for you? Say no.
Right.
So when someone comes to you and like, I have an idea, boss. We can make this great camper van. You
You'd be
go,
like, okay, shut up.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I'm going to throw you a bone here. You can go record a little ditzy thing. We're not going to redesign the camper. What are you talking about?
Right.
No. We're just, do you know why we're selling those?
And if someone does come to you with an idea like that, you're going to say, well, prove to me that it's going to do well. And you have no proof because for the past few decades, no one's made one.
And the best you could do would be to put out a video like this
Right.
and say,
I got
look
a-
at the thing.
I got
And-
a lot of likes.
Right. And anyone who knows anything like us is going to say, well, that's not going to work for 1,000 reasons. And, I'm sure that the people who had the idea to do this at Nissan were like, we could make the van. And they're like, no, we're just going to have the regular van.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's really sad.
Hey, let's do a positive story.
All right.
This,
I mean, it was started positive, but it went really sad really quick.
This is about a school called Synthesis. It was conceptualized by Josh Don and Elon Musk. And basically, one of the teachers and the founders of the school that Elon sent his own kids to started this. I'm pretty sure if we could read into the story more, I'm betting Elon helped a lot. So I'm going to play a video here of the first one just so you can get an idea of maybe what it is. This is kids kind of playing a game.
All right, everyone, have fun. We'll start the first game in about 5 minutes.
Nice to meet you guys. I'm Connor.
I'm Sarah.
Caitlin.
Hi, Amelia.
I'm Samuel.
Nick. I'm Marina. I'm gonna share my screen.
Okay, so what's the game plan?
If we go here, we can connect all these good lines. Where's the other wormhole?
You have to go through this point.
Go along the swirl all the way up into the circle here.
And you capture this?
This is a gamble. Nebula is more risky, but the outcome is better.
The best strategy was assigning people to the middle of the eye.
I was thinking about assigning player roles.
And then Connor and Amelia can build up here.
I think that will work.
I wanted to start already. 4, 3, 2, 1. Somebody else got it. Red.
So just start working where you guys are. You're doing awesome.
I'm evading yellow.
We're trying to block off magenta. I
So
stole
now
it. I stole it.
No,
Well, they also
magenta
stole one of
back.
ours.
Magenta, so decisive.
Magenta somehow stole our headquarters. We need to get 22 HXVR, HT
44.
9X and N2 BHBGBF.
Okay, I connected to a star cluster.
No one's going for Nebula. Total backfire, actually.
We're winning in points. We need to keep this up. Red. Again? Wow.
We're just gonna have a mutual respect. Let Red have that bottom part.
I got it. Woohoo! We won!
Yay!
We won! Yeah. Wait.
That was
Steve.
Hey, good job, everybody. See you back in the main session. Great job.
Let's go!
All right, so the whole idea here is that you take a cohort of about 20 kids from age 18 to 14. This costs about $180 a month, by the way. And this is now available in Australia, India, Bahrain, US, and England. And they plan on expanding to more countries. You can head on over to the website. We'll put it in the links below, Synthesis, and you can sign up for it. So the first thing I'd like to ask you guys to do, Jesse and I would love to just lie and say that we're between the ages of 14 and sign up and do this, but let's do it right. If you guys have kids and they might be interested in this, I would love it if some of you would sign up for this and see if you could, first of all, there's a list, so they're going to have to wait till they can accept you. But when they do, I would love for you to experience this with your kids and see what it's like, because it sounds awesome to me. I want to play the second video here, just hearing from some of the kids who have played this.
Synthesis is like the next level of education.
It's like a freedom class.
Because you really have to think creatively with problems that don't really have an answer.
It's not like easy. You have to strategize and cooperate with your team.
They're always making the game different, so I need to be ready to adapt because there's always new rules.
It makes you think under pressure.
You have to cooperate with other people, so you can't be like, we're definitely doing this. You have to say, hey, maybe we should try this. What are your ideas? Because then they might come up with something like completely different that's way better.
You're learning by playing a game. And it's really competitive, and it's not like your ordinary school where you just sit in a classroom and someone tells you what to do.
You have to do a lot of figuring out.
The first time I joined, I was like, what is this?
They just threw me in there and said,
good luck, figure out the rules. I didn't expect that at all.
And then I just realized it was a game.
Wow, this is so cool. I so want to do this.
Learning, it's fun. Why not?
You can't just go ahead with your plan always. You need to have a backup plan.
Wait, why didn't that work? We're trying that again.
In school, it's usually like doing your own thing, but in synthesis, you have to work together. You can just experiment.
It's a lot easier to make friends, and I just think the attitude and like vibe is way more happy.
Synthesis helps kids with making sure that their ideas get heard.
You learn how to interact with people
and lead with kindness.
because that's really what life is.
I like how such a simple game can be so complicated.
I can relate this game to almost every aspect of real life.
My team came in last place in the tournament. It really wasn't the end of the world. It was like, oh well, I'll have a second chance. You can reformulate the problem. You either win or you learn. You never really lose. Lose in school, there's less of an analysis. You kind of just go to the next thing. But this lets you have time to reflect to do better next time.
Mistakes are making you learn.
You want to keep coming back. You want to do a class every single day, and you just don't want to stop.
This is probably the most fun I've had in a long time.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds cool. Obviously, it's a marketing video, and I want to get your reactions to it. And we have a wonderful community of you guys who I'm sure some of you, hadn't heard of this, and now you've heard of it, and you want to sign your kids up for it.
I want to do a quote here from Jessica Bogart. She's one of the teachers at the school and one of the people who's planned out the curriculum. She says, in regular school, an example would be, here are 50 different screwdrivers, and you're going to memorize the size and shape and handles and where they go on the board. The way that it was being taught at Ad Astra at the time was, here's the engine that's broken, and we need to fix it. But what do we do to get the casing off? Well, we use a screwdriver. And now you've made that connection. And this is what you've been talking about for years.
Eerily similar to my biscuit jointer example where, school teaches you like, this is this. Instead of saying, hey, how would you figure out this? And then you go like, I don't know. I don't have the right tools. And they're like, would this tool be useful for you? And you're like, oh my gosh, calculus, thank you.
What I love is that they pretty much just drop the kids in. I mean, you saw in that first video, they're dropped into this game. A lot of them are like, what is this? How do we do this? And they have to figure it out, and they have to figure it out collaboratively. Now, I know that might seem like, so what? What's the big deal? Well, figuring something out with a bunch of people means you have to work on a whole bunch of skills at the same time, which most of us are not good at, which means, first of all, we're trying to figure out this game, right? But second of all, we're trying to figure out, do I listen to that kid who's now talking? Mm-hmm. How do I respond to him? Do I have to say like, good job, Jesse? Mm-hmm. Like all these skills that are going to lead to you having a better and better team. And as they do this day in, day out, they're going to get better at it. And who do you think are going to be awesome at running SpaceX and Tesla in a few years? These kids.
Right. I'm really interested to see what your experience is with it if you decide to sign your kids up, or maybe you're watching. Maybe you're the kid and you're going to sign yourself up. I don't know. I'm very interested to see what it's like. I don't have a really good sense of what the curriculum is going to be. If this is kind of an in addition to school, kind of like an after school program kind of thing. Obviously, there's a lot of after school programs you can do this year.
I mean, it works really well for COVID, doesn't it? Because, I mean, there's not many choices. And if you want your kids to be interactive with other kids, I mean, so much of school right now is just one on many, teacher talking to 10 kids. This is kids talking to kids. And I think that's super valuable.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how it goes. So yeah, let us know how it goes. And then maybe we can either let the rest of the Patreon community know or the rest of our whole community. That's why we didn't want to do it as a main story this week, like on the main show, just because, yeah, we want to see how it works before we're saying how amazing it is.
And this gets us to our code word. Use code word dragon. And so, for instance, if you sign up for this and your kids and you want to tell us about it, email me at zach@nowyouknowchannel.com. Use dragon in the subject line so we'll know it's coming from one of our patrons. And yeah, please tell us about this and other things because we love hearing from you guys. So thank you again so much for being our patrons. We can't do this show without you. I mean, honestly, I think Jesse and I, especially this week with, COVID, contact tracing and all that, we probably would have just been like, let's just skip this week. But we muscled through. We spent hours getting the studio ready because we want to make sure we get the show out for you every week.
Thanks so much for watching. Now you know.